Hello, this is Annie Sprinkles with your Daily Scoop. Today is Tuesday, March 22nd, 2016. Let's see, when was the last time I did a scoop? I think it might have been on Friday. I'm behind on scoops. But the last two scoops, I shared some high-profile cases of rape, sexual assault, child molestation. I can't remember which days were which, but one of the days we kind of talked a little bit about the Jerry Sandusky sexual assault scandal, and then I shared some high profile case of a victim of rape who alleges that Bill Cosby had raped her. So I read her story, which is a petition that you can find online. So today, what I thought I would do is share a personal story. And, as you continue to listen to more daily scoops, you're going to begin to understand how these types of grievous behaviors really intersect with domestic violence, family violence, intimate partner violence. And, also April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. So I have actually shared this personal story countless times on college campuses and with other survivors of sexual abuse and rape. So I hope that with other audiences, hopefully my resilience will give someone listening today either just affirmation that they're not alone and that it wasn't their fault, or maybe it'll give someone the strength to seek out resources and heal their own trauma or their children's trauma. So no matter how long ago this happened or by whom, if something resonates, certainly reach out to your local resources, whether it's the Domestic Violence Center, the Willow Center, or Restore, which is formerly Rape Crisis, or Bavona, Child Advocacy Center, or if some of this resonates with men or other women in the room, and there's a men's program too, and I've put those numbers up before, Delphi Drug and Alcohol Council men's program. So you can find all of those resources on the internet. But I want to share, and I'll be referencing my notes and some excerpts from speeches that I've given. It kind of cites really some examples about what some these experiences have taught me. But not only that, I think that what you're going to learn here is how my foundation really helped me overcome particular adverse childhood experiences that I've had. So, and I know that you've heard me mention the ACE study in previous posts. So, and we're going to learn more about that as the scoops go on in the coming weeks and months. In this particular case, and I know, like I said, I've mentioned it in the past, if your ACEs are high, it's not necessarily a good thing. So there are predictors and warning signs to some of these types of crimes and afflictions that happen right around us. And if something is predictable, then it's preventable. So I'm kind of going on there. But I kind of start out my story by telling the students and the faculty that I was raped when I was 16 years old, but I didn't really know it was considered rape until I was like in my 40s. And then I give a little talk about my family history and my background before I dive into that, so people can see this foundation and this healthy environment that I grew up in. And that's why my story of resilience, whether it was overcoming a sexual assault when I was 16 or domestic violence situation in my 20s, I've been able to take what those experiences provided to me in my life, how I healed from those traumas, and then now I can really share my stories, and I actually get strength from this. So I don't get re-traumatized. I just feel that it's so important to share these real life stories, because something might resonate with somebody within that story and say, that, I might want to talk to somebody about that. So I kind of, go in to say, hey, a little bit about my family history and background. I'm the second youngest of 9 children. My parents stayed married the entire time, right up till their deaths. We are all the siblings are about a year apart, except there's almost 10 years between me and my youngest brother, Bill. So my parents really gave us a solid foundation, a lot of love. They absolutely adored and trusted and respected one another, and it showed. And growing up with 4 older sisters and 3 older brothers, and then a younger brother coming along after that. But, before that, I was always around and exposed to many, many boys and men who were older than me. I mean, experts would say my environment could have been a playground for a predator. I was always trying to fit in or sneak drinks with my older siblings, had wild parties at our house. When my parents were on their annual vacations, someplace out of state or out of the country. And given all of these risk factors, I was never, ever sexually assaulted or molested by a relative or a family member or a family friend or a friend's parent or a teacher or a coach or a priest or a mentor, as many are. However, my upbringing and my foundation and my environment growing up was so healthy and happy. When I did experience a sexual assault, and I will get into that in a minute, but just know and understand it wasn't at all from this environment. So most of all in my family and in my upbringing, everything around me and my environment was healthy and happy. And most of all, my home was safe and free from fear and violence, aside from a little sibling rivalry now and then. But we were all taught very good manners, good morals, ethical values, and yes, we were taught about good personal hygiene and private parts and modesty and where babies come from. So, we were taught to look out for each other, our brothers and sisters and our family and our close friends. So my parents, my siblings, my family have always provided the love, support, and nurturing that I needed to accept, acknowledge, and heal from any temporary setback in my life. And that gave and continues to give me the courage and the strength to move on, survive, thrive, be resilient. And that's just where my resilience comes from, to overcome any adversity. So again, because April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and like I said, I've been sharing this story for probably 12 years or so over numerous trainings, college campuses, and like many people tuning in right now, many years ago, especially when I was 16, I did not know about distinguishing the difference between consent, sexual consent, mutual consent, versus cooperation and or coercion, as it relates to sex. So until I began attending formal trainings, and it would be domestic violence and sexual assault training programs and symposiums, and began, becoming a facilitator as well. So here I am, in my 40s, sitting in a sexual assault training class when I start learning these things. And I'm like, son of a gun, I was raped when I was 16. Who knew? So, of course, when I put myself back when I was at the 16-year-old traumatic experience that I have, and because of what I just shared, this is why that particular experience didn't defeat me. Not only did I not recognize or learn or know that those behaviors were considered rape, but number one, I thought it was my fault for putting myself into that situation. And number two, I felt pretty resolved by the way I personally handled it with the guy. And also, I should say, because my mom was at the right place at the right time to protect me and assure me that it would never happen again. And she did this without even uncovering all the details about what happened. So during the next couple days after this sexual assault training, when I was remembering some of the stuff that kind of happened, and I started processing what I learned, and then I applied it to my 16-year-old self, and what I started recalling and remembering some of the tactics this older boy, used against me. They were all right there in the curriculum, and I was like, holy moly. So I started recalling some conversations that not only that I had with this guy after it happened, but also with my mom a couple of months after the assault happened. So as I was learning in formal trainings as an adult, I was able to move past and subdue this traumatic experience when I was a teenager, because I had these amazing protective factors, and they were so strong. And then my resilience was very strong and high because of my background. So, I felt safe and really okay sharing my story, and still do. So it really does help other young girls and boys learn from this experience. And even people that just have these myths and these perceptions about what rape is, like it looks like, oh, stranger danger, or, somebody getting pulled into the bushes. It's not at all that. So when I dive in a little bit more to what my personal experience was, you're going to start looking at rape in a completely different light. So I always say to my audiences, when I start to share a little bit of the detail of my story, that doing the dishes with my mom one day gave me the reassurance, the safety, and the comfort that I needed. And my foundation gave me the strength I needed to fight back, move on, and heal from that experience that I blame myself for. And, I really believe that those two factors helped me prevent it from ever happening again. So I hope that this resonates a little bit before I dive in. And I also, just want to, again, let people know, I just like to share this stuff from my own personal experience, take it for what it's worth. I don't have big letters after my name, Annie Sprinkles here. I don't have a PhD in anything. I just give it to you straight up from my own personal experiences of life, what I've learned in classrooms, what people have told me and shared with me about their own personal experiences. So, pretty powerful stuff. Okay, I just wanted to make sure we were still rolling. So when I was 16 years old and still a virgin, I was being seduced by a very handsome, charming, seemingly harmless 23-year-old married man who had 2 children and a pregnant wife at the time. I knew him as an acquaintance from a bar that me and my friends, albeit I was underage, but 18 was the drinking age back then. I was 16 plus and going to bars. They let us in. So I knew him as an acquaintance from a bar that me and my friends and my older siblings, by the way, hung out at. So we all knew each other or of each other. Sometimes he would flirt with me and I would just walk past him and laugh and say, "No way, you're married." Although I did think he was cute. Also, my older sister's friends would always tell him, "Stay away from Toomey or I'll kick your ass." So, there were also people, other guys older than me. Of course, in that bar, I had a lot of opportunities to be accosted or assaulted. But most of them looked out for me because they knew my older siblings. And of course, I was always with my guy friends and girlfriends whenever we went to this bar. So I was always safe and felt safe. So one night, though, I agreed to go out with him, quote unquote, just as friends. And he's actually told me we were meeting up with some other people at Mendon Ponds Park. It was always